there, first grade. Today you're going to be painting in the white spaces around your winter tree using the colors from the color wheel. We are just going to be painting the primary and secondary colors today. Tertiary colors you will learn about later in second or third grade, but today we're just going to do the primary and secondary colors. We're going to start with the primary colors, yellow, red, and blue, and then we're going to mix those colors together to make new colors called secondary colors, which are orange, green, and violet. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with my primary colors, and I'm going to leave a space between them to mix the secondary colors. So I'm going to kind of do a pattern where it's color, white, color, white, color. So I'm going to start with the color red. I'm going to paint in the entire section to the left of my tree. Primary colors are the original colors. We cannot make red by mixing two colors together. Red has to come from pigments mixed with a base like water or oil or even plastic. So when we talk about primary colors, we always want to remember them as the original colors. They're the very first colors that we use when we mix colors. So I'm filling in all that space with red. Spreading out all my paint so there's no big blobs. If I run out of paint, I dip again. Trying not to paint over top of my tree too much. I want to just stay next to my tree. Alright, next I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going to leave a space next to the red because that's going to be for orange. And I'm going to put yellow in the next space around. So I'm going to clean off my brush the best I can. It might stay a little bit red, but that's okay. I'm going to dip my brush in yellow and I'm going to paint this section yellow. Alright. Next I'm going to skip a space here because that's going to be for green, and I'm going to paint blue here. So I'm cleaning my brush, getting the water off. I'm going to dip in the blue, and I'm going to paint the blue. So I'm starting with the three primary colors first, leaving spaces for the secondary colors because that's where we're going to mix. I'm just spreading out my paint so it's nice and even. I'm not leaving any big blobs of paint to dry. So now you can see I have red, space for orange, yellow, space for green, blue, space for violet. So now we're going to make the secondary colors using some mixing techniques. So I'm going to mix orange. So what colors do you think I'm going to mix for orange if it's in between red and yellow? Go ahead and guess. That's right, red and yellow. We're going to mix those two colors together. Now usually when you color mix, you always want to start with the lighter color on your brush first because you want more of that color. So I'm going to get a lot of yellow and a little tiny bit of red. See how much red is on my brush? Let me move it over here so you can see it better. A lot of yellow, a little bit of red. That will make my orange. If you put too much red, then your orange will become red-orange. That's okay too because red-orange is technically orange, but you want to try and focus on getting a lot of yellow and a little bit of red. See how that orange is different than the other orange? It has a little bit more red in it. So if I just spread this out, looks like I still have some blue on my brush. That's okay. I'm still making orange. Now I have orange, so red mixed with yellow makes orange. This is what's so cool about the color wheel because the color wheel actually tells you what two colors you're going to mix to make the color you want. So if I have yellow and blue, what color is that going to make right here? Go ahead and yell it out. Didn't hear you. Oh, good, you said green. Good. So we're going to make green next. I made sure my brush is really clean. Now I'm going to get the lighter color first. My lighter color is yellow. So I'm going to get a lot of yellow and a little tiny bit of blue. And I'm going to mix that together, and that should make green. A lot of yellow, a little bit of blue. Mix it together. Spreading it out so it makes a nice even green. And you can even see the different kinds of green here. I have like a yellow green over here, and then this green is more blue, so that's called blue green. So those are the tertiary colors that I talked about. We aren't really making tertiary colors today, but we can still talk about them. All right, one last color to go. Which one is it? I hope you said purple or violet. Very good. And how do I make purple or violet? Because that's the same name for the same color. How do I make it? Yell it out. Great, red and blue mixed together. Now the lighter color in this pair is red. So I'm gonna get quite a bit of red and a little bit of blue, and I'm gonna mix that together. This is a bigger space, so I'm gonna need to dip a couple times. Red, blue, mix it together, and it should make purple or violet. Now remember, if it makes kind of a reddish violet, red violet is a tertiary color, that's still technically violet. You're still mixing the colors correctly, but you're making a tertiary color, and that's okay. If you want to make your color more violet and it's very red, you can add a little bit of blue. Violet's one of the tricky ones to get to mix. But I think if you practice a little bit and get it just right, you can do it. So I'm spreading this out, making sure all the white is covered, because there's no white in the color wheel. There's not really black either, but that's okay. There we go. And my color wheel tree is finished, but I want to make this a little bit more interesting with some smaller branches. So I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to take my black paint again, and I'm going to make some smaller branches coming off of the big branch to make it look more like a tree. There might be even some smaller branches coming off of here. So I'm just trying to make my tree look more realistic. Just adding some curvy lines to make it more like a real tree. I like to think of Y's, the letter Y, when I add branches to my trees, because a lot of trees have the letter Y in their branches, so you can make some letter Y's added to your tree. And sometimes your branches can overlap, because in a real tree, the branches kind of cover each other up. I'm just adding some Y's. Sorry if you can't see that. Let me move it a little bit. You can make big Y's, little Y's, any kind of Y's you want to fill in your color wheel tree. Just try to keep the Y's up by the branches and not down here by the ground. I'm just making the bottoms a little bit thicker so they look more real. Spreading out my paint too. I think I can fit a couple more up here. So I'm just filling in the spaces with my letter Y branches. Alright, I think that looks like a pretty good tree. When I'm all done, I'm going to put my brush in the water bucket, carry my paper to the drying rack using my two hands. I like to carry mine this way and touch the black paint at the top and the bottom so my fingers don't get too messy. And then I can wash my fingers if I need to. The sinks will be open for you. So just to review, today we made the colors of the color wheel, starting with the primary colors yellow, red, and blue. And we mixed them together to make the secondary colors. Yellow and blue makes green, blue and red makes violet, red and yellow makes orange. Great job, first grade.